Welcome to the Transportation Sales Tax Program, also known as Roadwise. I'm Cheryl Harleston. We're going to be talking with the mayor of the city of the Isle of Palms, and there's a lot of activity going on there where part of the area that crosses over from 17 to 703, in fact, is being improved. It's being widened. Mayor Dick Cronin is our guest, and he's going to tell us more about what's going on and how this area, how this city will benefit from the work that it's doing as a result of the Transportation Sales Tax Program. Welcome to our program. It's nice having you.
Welcome to the beach.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Mayor Cronin, how long has this project been going on? And before that, was this something that the town asked for or went to county council for? Or just how did that come?
I can give you the full background. This started a number of years ago when we had a lot of congestion and dislocation trying to get people off of the island. It became a public safety hazard. We just had a log jam because we had so many people visiting the beach, visiting the community here. During the summer, spring and summer periods are our peak periods. People were having very difficult times getting off of the island and getting to their ultimate destination. So we approached county transportation, county council, trying to do something about it. And we had proposed that the bottleneck happened to be off of our island, happened to be in the Mount Pleasant jurisdiction, particularly along the connector rifle range out to 17.
There have been a number of projects that started well in the 2004 area and have been going on since then. I'm wondering, was this one of those planned projects, or is this something that the need was recommended later on and therefore it was done?
This was recommended later on. Funding was obviously a big issue because the money was not available. We had it docketed. Monies from the Transportation Council were being applied to this project, but in a slow pattern. In the last year, which I'll talk about, we had a serious problem on the island last spring. As a consequence of that, and making it fully aware within county council and county staff, it became apparent something had to be done sooner. And so using Roadwise and using funding capabilities that they had, monies became available such that the project can be executed and is under construction now.
Now, what was the problem exactly?
The problem last spring started on Memorial Day. It started actually earlier in spring when we had a bad spring. There was not a good weekend, it was rainy and cool, relatively speaking. So people didn't get an opportunity to get their beach hours in, prior to the Memorial Day
important.
weekend. That's important. And we take in a lot of visitors, not only people that come and stay for the week, but people who come for the day and come across the bridge and enjoy the beach in our parking facilities at the county park or at our front beach area. But last spring on Memorial Day, so many people came to the beach. Traffic backed up in such a horrendous way, all the way from 17 basically in the rifle range, all the way across the connector down onto the island. It was creeping all over the island. And what became even worse was that in that creeping process, there were a number of accidents. And the accidents occurred, you would think that people who were just creeping in traffic across a one-lane each direction connector could keep control of themselves, but that wasn't the case. There were accidents with bodily injury.
Wow, really?
And so for our public safety personnel, fire and police, to respond to that, we had to close the connector.
Oh.
So close in both directions. And so there could be no onbound traffic because we had to get ambulances to the accidents. We had to get our fire personnel, first responders, to the site, also coming off from off the island onto the connector. So the connector was shut down on one occasion for 40 minutes, another case for a little over 20 minutes, at the peak of time when people were trying to leave the island. That caused a log jam that lasted hours. People were trying to leave the island for 2 to 3 hours, which of course is unacceptable not only to them and their abilities to get home, it's unacceptable to us as hosts and in our care while they're here to try and keep them safe.
Now, we have the connector getting people in and out of the city, and then there are other places, or just one other place?
The only other way onto and off of the island is to go through, leave our island by going across Breach Inlet onto Sullivan's Island, then Sullivan's Island down to Ben Sawyer.
Mm-hmm.
That same weekend where we had multiple accidents on the connector when it was all backed up, there were accidents on the Ben Sawyer as well, and Sullivan's Island had to close the Ben Sawyer to respond to an accident and some emergency personnel needs there. As a consequence, we had both exit routes blocked for a period of time simultaneously, so nobody was leaving the island. And of course, nobody knew that other than our public safety personnel. So people who were in parking lots or trying to leave the beachfront didn't know why they couldn't move, and so there was a great deal of frustration and concern.
17 and 703 are connected as a consequence, or I should say the town, and I want to say the city, I should say the city of the Isle of Palms is connected to Mount Pleasant by way of this path.
Well, we can't go anywhere unless we go through Mount Pleasant.
Right.
And a lot of the visitors are Mount Pleasant residents, and people from the Low Country come to the island and visit, and they're the people that, frankly, were distressed. I met with an individual that yesterday, in fact, who was trying to get to a Spoleto event last Memorial Day, and after 2 hours trying to get off of the island here, she gave up. And so that impacts not only her experience here, but it impacts the entire tourism field that is so important to the rest of Charleston area.
Now, how is this project going to help resolve some of those issues that you've just mentioned?
The design of the project, which I'll try to keep simple,
okay,
is directed principally, we were driven to try and improve the exiting capability of traffic off the island. This does not expand the bridge. The bridge will continue to be one lane in each direction. But once the traffic has left our island and left the bridge proper, when it arrives in Mount Pleasant, the Mount Pleasant side will be expanded to 2 through lanes of traffic all the way from prior to rifle range all the way out to 17. So there are 2 light controls, one at rifle range and one at Hungry Neck before you get to 17. And so we'll have twice as much traffic passing through those intersections for the interval of the light than what we have now. And that should have a dramatic effect on people exiting the island.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. How is that going to affect people who are moving in and out of the area as a consequence? And will that have any impact on traffic congestion and hopefully have an impact, a better impact on problems that people have leaving the island and coming to the island, accidents and all of those things?
It's designed, and we're quite hopeful through the traffic engineers, et cetera, that it will dramatically improve people's exiting, and we won't have the backups that we've had not only Memorial Day weekend, virtually every weekend in the summer we have congestion. If a thunderstorm pops up, which they tend to do here in the Low Country somewhat indiscriminately, if it pops up at 2 o'clock in the afternoon or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, everybody wants to leave the beach all at the same time. And that's not possible. And so we'll still have some congestion in the exiting process, but we'll double the capacity of people leaving. And it will move people to an area, whether it be turning onto rifle range, turning onto Hungry Neck, or all the way out to 17. It will allow them to turn either left or right quicker than what they can do now.
When we come back from the break, Mayor Cronin, I'd like to talk with you about the exact areas. Not the entire road is going to be changed on either
Correct.
side. And we want to also talk about the availability for bicyclists and others who wish to walk to the island from 17 and from 703 back. So we'll talk about those things in just a moment. So please don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Transportation Sales Tax Program, also known as RoadWise. Today I'm talking with the mayor of the city of the Isle of Palms, and he is giving us information on the IOP connector, and a lot of you understand what that means. Tell us, how did it get that name? That's not the real name of this.
Well, the bridge proper is named after Dangerfield, who was instrumental.
Clyde Dangerfield.
Clyde
I
Dangerfield.
remember when he was in the South Carolina House or Senate.
He was in the House, very instrumental in getting the connector built, getting it funded, etc. So the bridge proper is named after Clyde, and his family still lives on the island and actually looks out across the marsh at the connector probably every day.
Wow, great. Well, one of the things that I would like you to discuss with me has to do with the exact or specific parts of the road that are being widened. And then I'm going to ask you, once we travel down the widened part of the road and head for the bridge, what's that going to cause there? Is there going to be a bottleneck or something?
Okay. It'll still be one lane off the island. When you get onto the land in Mount Pleasant, it will widen to 2 lanes and will continue on 2 lanes all the way out to 17. Right now, there is a multi-use path on the exiting side. There's also one on the inbound side. That multi-use bike and pedestrian path will be restored, so there'll be the capability, in addition to another vehicular travel lane, the multi-use bike and pedestrian path will still be integral to the Isle of Palms connector.
Right.
And that is there now and will continue. On the inbound activity, you'll come in through off of 17. There's 2 lanes now up until Rifle Range, where currently at Rifle Range it diverts to 1 lane through the intersection. This construction project that's underway now will make that 2 lanes through the intersection. There'll still be a right turn onto Rifle Range, a separate lane for turning there. But the 2 lanes will come through the intersection, will be approaching the bridge, and it will neck down to 1 single lane as it approaches the bridge, and then it will be 1 single lane onto the island.
Now, there won't be any changes in Highway 17, I would assume.
No. 17, Rifle Range, Hungry Neck will remain as they are. This is just principally an effort to improve the public safety, the safety of personnel, people trying to leave the island, and there have been a lot of accidents apparently with people coming onto the island at the Rifle Range where the road required you to turn right. People would be cutting in, and there were accidents there that this should alleviate.
How's the traffic being handled on this side, the city side of the connector? It seems to me that once you get all the way across the connector bridge, then you're at 703 and you're on the Isle of Palms. And I would imagine with that light down there that it's going to take a little while to get through, go down to the public park or to go to the hotels,
it's interesting because, traffic engineers do get things right at times.
Okay.
And building the connector, and when it comes onto the island, we wind up 1 lane on, but at the traffic light here, there are 4 lanes. There are 2 lanes for turning left, which is to the center and the far eastern end of the island where we have wild dunes, so there's a lot of traffic turns left. There's 1 lane for straight through traffic to go down to the county park in the front beach area, and there's 1 lane that would turn right that takes us to the western end of the island, or if you're going all the way to Sullivan's Island. Of course, why would you go to Sullivan's Island?
Well, I don't know, because we have the Isle of Palms,
exactly.
Right?
So the traffic does back up at times coming onto the island, but that's far less severe than it is in the exiting, simply because we have 4 lanes that it can disperse. It's almost like a hose, a spray of a hose, as opposed to a straight funnel.
Now, I want to think and talk a little bit about the Mount Pleasant side. Now, we just talked about the Isle of Palms side. Now we go back to the Mount Pleasant side. There are turning lanes there at
There are
17.
There are turning lanes now.
Going several ways.
There are 2 lanes left, and there'll still be 2 lanes left and a right turn. You have to turn. You can go straight. Of course, there's an apartment complex straight ahead. So that